Hi, I'm Toey. So, last time I used Epic, and it was a very fun run all things considered, filled with interesting strategies and recoil moves. This week's Pokemon is one of only 9 Pokemons in the Solo Run series to learn Swords Dance by level up, and one of only 6 to learn the move Aqua Jet. He also gets some good coverage, so I shouldn't have problems in that department. The rules for the challenge are simple. I can only use Oshawott for combat. I'll have other Pokemons for HMs, but I won't be allowed to use them for battle, except for special occasions. I'll get into that when the time comes. No items during battle, however health items are okay. And finally, evasion moves, items, abilities, focus band, and the moves return and hidden power are banned. The last rule is more of a personal preference. With that out of the way, Judy I'll answer the question. Can I beat Pokemon Y2 challenge mode with only Oshawott? We start like usual, by selecting the starter so that we can start the run. I name him Tchaikovsky. I wanted to do Tchaikovsky like the composer, but it didn't fit, so now he's named Tchaikovsky. It has a lonely nature, so he has higher attack but lower defense. His ability is Torrent. It increases the damage of water type moves when at 1/3 of HP. The first rival fights didn't give me any trouble, but in the way, Oshawott learns Water Gun, a stab move, and Focus Energy, a move that raises his chances of getting a critical hit. I give him an Oran Berry and challenge Cheren. He sends his Patrat, and I set up with Focus Energy while he uses Work Up. I hit with Water Gun doing a bit under half and he sets up again. A crit Water Gun then defeats him. Lillipup is next and he uses Tackle doing close to half, and I use Water Gun doing like a third. Another Tackle activates my Oran Berry, and the crit Water Gun KOs him. Finally, is Speed Up. I use Water Gun and it's close to half, while he sets up with Work Up. Another Water Gun leaves him in the red and he sets up again. He heals with a potion and Water Gun leaves me in the red again. He attacks with Quick Attack, leaving me with 2 HP, so a Water Gun next turn gets me the win. I went to the next city to challenge the Poison Gym, and while fighting the trainers, Oshawott learns Razor Shell, a 75 base power physical water move that has a 50% chance of lowering the enemy's defense. I tried the gym fight, but my level was too low. I can't deal enough damage to rot his Pokemon and I'm way too frail. So I went to do a bit of grinding. At level 19, Oshawott tries to learn Fury Cutter, a bug move that gets stronger every time you use it. I didn't think it would be that useful, as I would have to use it 3 times for it to be stronger than Tackle, so I don't bother learning it. I'm sure I won't regret this decision. Anyways, at level 23, Oshawott learns Water Pulse, a special water move that has a chance to confuse the opponent. It could be useful in the future. I equip a Citrus Berry to him and challenge Roxy again. She sends Coughing. I set up with Focus Energy and she uses Venoshock doing a bit of damage. I miss Razor Shell the next turn, and she hits again activating my Citrus Berry. Razor Shell then hits doing less than half, and the Venoshock leaves me a half HP. Another Razor Shell luckily KOs her. Grimer comes out and it has Disable, so I use Tackle to do some cheap damage while she uses Venoshock. I'm now in Torrent range, so a Razor Shell is enough to take her out. Last is her Ice Whirlbeat. The first turn she uses Protect. Next one, I use Razor Shell lowering her defense and activating her Citrus Berry. All of this while she uses Venoshock, leaving me with only 5 HP, but thanks to the defense drop, I can KO her the next turn. I then do the usual stuff, enjoy Pokestar Studio, defeat Plasma Grunts, get the HM for Cuts, go to Castilia City, defeat more Grunts, and get the Mystic Water to boost water type moves. But while fighting the gym trainers, I noticed that I was dealing a surprisingly low amount of damage to the Swaddles. I didn't think much of it, but as a countermeasure I got the Eviolite to boost my defenses. When I challenged Burke, however, it was immediately clear that I couldn't beat him. His Leavanny is faster and has Razor Leaf that deals massive damage. So, I grinded until I got a bit over level 29, the level at which Oshawott learns Aqua Jet, a priority water move, and try again. But he's still way too strong. I deal almost no damage and he does more than half with Razor Leaf. Not learning Fury Cutter was a mistake. I grinded again and at level 35 Oshawott learns Aqua Tail, a water physical move stronger than Razor Shell. I try my luck again after replacing Razor Shell and finally get this run. He leads with Dwebble and I use Water Pulse to get him into Sturdy while he sets up with Rock Polish. Next turn, a priority Aqua Jet KOs him. Next is the Ace Leavanny. He misses Grass Whistle while I use Water Pulse hoping for a confusion, but don't get it. He uses Razor Leaf doing a bit under half and I use Water Pulse again without getting the confusion. Another Razor Leaf leaves me in the red and Water Pulse finally confuses him while also activating his Citrus Berry. He hits himself in confusion and a torrent boosted Aqua Tail KOs him. I don't take any chances after that, so I use Water Pulse to OHKO both the Shelmet and the Carablast. Going to Nimbasa City, I tried the Electric Gym. While fighting the trainers, I got to level 37, where I learned Retaliate. It's basically a stronger version of Tackle. I thought that with all the grinding I did before, I would have a chance of beating Elisa, but it wasn't possible. I think I'm close though, so after getting a few levels, I try again. First, she sends her Emolga. I use Aqua Tail almost OHKOing her and she uses Volt Switch, switching to Joltik. But I use Aqua Tail again, OHKOing it. Fluffy is also an OHKO with a lucky crit, but it activates her static, so now Oshawott is paralyzed. Emolga comes again and I use Aqua Jet for the priority, KOing her. Last is her Zebstrika. She uses Volt Switch doing a ton of damage and leaving me with only 2 HP, but a torrent boosted Aqua Tail is enough to make her faint. During the confrontation against Team Plasma, Oshawott gets to level 41, where he tries to learn the move Sword Stance, one of the best setup moves that boosts the attack of the user by 2 stages. I replace Water Pulse as I don't think I'll be using it anymore. I then get to the Heartbreaker Charles triple battle. I cock 2 Azuriels before the fight and challenge him. He sends his Sertuga, Sigilyph, and Archen, while I send my 2 Azuriels and Oshawott. An Aqua Jet from Tirtuga OHKOs one of the Azuriels, an Aqua Tail from Oshawott OHKOs the Sigilyph, and Archen uses Block against Oshawott. Azuriel uses Splash. Next turn, Tirtuga uses Wild Guard, Oshawott uses Aqua Tail leaving Tirtuga on the red, and Archen OHKOs the last Azuriel. After that, Oshawott uses Aqua Jet KOing the Tirtuga, and Archen sets up an Agility. Finally, after getting hit by Archen, an Aqua Tail is enough to defeat Heartbreaker Charles. Clay Fight. He leads with Krokorok and thanks to his Intimidate, my attack is lowered. I use Sword Stance on the first turn, so now my attack is at +1. He uses Bulldoze doing a bit, but also lowering my speed. Next turn, he uses Sandstorm, so now I take damage each turn, but I OHKO him with Aqua Tail. Afterwards, it's his Onix. I set up again with Sword Stance to further increase my attack and he uses Rock Slide, leaving me below half. I use Aqua Jet the next turn, activating his Sturdy while he uses another Rock Slide, leaving me in the red. He heals, and I use Aqua Jet activating his Sturdy again. A third Aqua Jet finally KOs him and the Sandstorm stops, but I'm only left with 7 HP. Sandslash is sent, but thanks to the attack boost and Torrent, an Aqua Jet can OHKO him. Finally, Excadrill also goes down to a single Aqua Jet. Nothing of note happens on the way to Mistrodon City. I easily win the PWT and I defeat the Plasma Grunts. When challenging Skyla however, at level 45 I'm no match for her. I come back at level 50, but it's still not enough. I can reach Swanna, but I don't have the HP to leave a hit. Also, the battles are very luck dependent, with Swoobat using Attract and me having to use Sword Stance. Finally, at level 55, I get this run. First is her Swoobat. She uses Acrobatics doing like a third while I set up a Sword Stance. She then uses Energy Ball, leaving me under a third, and I use Aqua Tail OHKOing her. Sigilyph comes out and she's also a one-shot. Next is Skarmory. I use Aqua Tail activating her Sturdy and Citrus Berry while she sets up an Agility. A priority Aqua Jet is then enough to defeat her. Finally is the Ace Swanna and an Air Slash comes close to KOing me, but it doesn't, so a Retaliate can OHKO her. Before leaving to Lantimas Town, I get the TM for Edge Scissor, an 80 base power physical bug move that has a higher chance of critting. I replace Retaliate and start the rival battle against Hugh. He sends on Pheasant and I set up a Sword Stance while he uses Taunt, so I can't set up anymore. A single Aqua Tail OHKOs him. Next is Superior and he sets up a coil to raise his attack, defense, and accuracy while I use an Edge Scissor that luckily OHKOs him. Finally, Simisage and an Aqua Jet is enough to defeat him. There's a Sinsulin double battle with Hugh, but I just OHKO everything. Drayden Fight. He leaves with Drodigon and I set up a Sword Stance while he attacks with Crunch, leaving Oshawott with half HP. I have to set up another Sword Stance, and he uses Crunch again, leaving me with only 6 HP. Now I'm in Torrent range, so Aqua Tail does more damage than Edge Scissor and it can OHKO him. After that, Flygon is a one-shot, Altaria is a one-shot, and Hatsurus is a one-shot, ending a surprisingly easy fight. I didn't even need to use the Blizzard TM. Final gym leader on the list is Marlon. He sends Wailord and I set up twice with Sword Stance while he does a bit of damage with Earthquake and sets up a Rain Dance. So the next turn, I OHKO him with an Aqua Tail boosted by the rain. Jellicent comes out and he's also a one-shot. Caracosta is next, and an Aqua Tail doesn't KO him thanks to his Sturdy, but he only sets up a Shell Smash, so a priority Aqua Jet next turn KOs him. The rain stops when Mentine is sent, but an Aqua Tail is still enough to OHKO him. Final gym down. Next is the Plasma Team boss battles. First is a double battle against Tinsolin with Hugh. They send Cryogonal and Lipard while we send Oshawott and Superior. Hugh's Superior OHKOs the Lipard with Leaf Blade and Oshawott OHKOs the Cryogonal with Aquatail. Cryogonal and Watchog are sent, but they also get OHKO'd. Finally is Weavile and Scolipede. Weavile uses Night Slash on Oshawott doing some damage. Superior uses Ring Out on Scolipede, leaving him close to the red but activating his Poison Point. Oshawott uses Aquatail, leaving Weavile on the red, and Scolipede uses Steamroller on Superior doing half. Next turn, Weavile KOs Superior with Priority Ice Shard, while I KO him back with Priority Aqua Jet. Scolipede then uses Steamroller, leaving me on a third of HP. Hugh sends his own Pheasant, but an Aqua Jet from Oshawott is enough to defeat them both. Afterwards is the last Insolent fight, but Oshawott can OHKO both his Cryogonal with Aquatail and Weavile with Edge Scissor. And now is Colress. I don't think I need to explain to you why I need to grind for this fight. We are close in levels, he has 4 Pokemons with super effective moves, and always starts with Thunder Wave. I was at level 67 and grinded all the way to 75, but I couldn't even get past the Magnet Zone. At level 80, nothing changed. Magneton and Magnezone do way too much damage. At level 90, I replaced Edge Scissor with Rest, hoping I will somehow get a chance to heal, but the furthest I could go was defeating Magnezone, Klinklang, and Behem. But at that point I was way too low in health, so Magneton could just KO me easily. I could do the battle subway like I did on the Snivy run, but I honestly think I'm getting close to winning, and I don't want to do that again unless it's absolutely necessary. Finally, at level 95, I get this run. He sends his Magneton and I set up a Sword Stance while he uses Thunder Wave to paralyze me. He usually uses Volt Switch to go into Magnezone, so I use Aquatail to attack him on the switch and activate his Sturdy. He heals and I use Priority Aqua Jet to activate his Sturdy again. Another Aqua Jet KOs him. Klinklang comes out and an unnecessary Great Aqua Jet also KOs him. Behem goes down to a single Aqua Jet too, and out comes Magneton. He uses Try Attack doing almost nothing, and I try to go for Rest, but the paralysis makes me lose a turn. Next turn, Rest works and Oshawott gets healed. For the next 2 turns of sleep, Magneton continues doing no damage, so when I wake up, I use Aqua Jet, leaving him on the red. But for some reason, he finally decided to go for Volt Switch, doing close to 100 HP. Metang comes, and I take the chance to rest again, since he has no super effective moves. When Oshawott wakes up, a single Aquatail KOs him. Last is Magneton, but because he was already damaged, an Aqua Jet defeats him, finally ending this battle. After the fight, I replaced Rest for Edge Scissor again, and because of my massive level, the Shadow Triad was no problem at all. For Kyurem, I just used 3 Edge Scissors to KO him. Next is Getsis. He sends Cofagrigus and gets one-shotted by Aquatail. Electros also gets one-shotted by Aquatail, Seismito gets OHKO'd by Aquatail, and Drapion is a one-shot with Aquatail. He then sends his Hydreigon, but gets one-shotted by super effective Edge Scissor. Finally is Toxicroak, and an Aquatail one-shots him. I think I may be too over-leveled. On the way to the league, I get challenged by Hugh. He leaves with Unpheasant and I set up a Sword Stand. He uses U-turn and switches to Bouffalant. Next turn, I can start OHKOing everything. I OHKO Bouffalant with Aquatail, Torpedo with Edge Scissor, Simisear with Aqua Jet, and Unpheasant with Aquatail. I don't think I need any preparations for the league, since I'm already level 97, so I go and challenge Grimsley immediately. Now, you can see that I was very confident because I forgot to heal at the Poké Center, so my HP is a bit lower. He sends first Lipard and uses normal gem boosted Fake Out doing a bit of damage and flinching me. Next turn, she uses Night Slash and I set up a Sword Stance. Lipard then uses a Track, but Oshawott is still able to set up another Sword Stance. Afterwards, she uses Night Slash again, leaving me at a third, and I use Edge Scissor, outgoing her. He sends his Crocodile, lowering my attack with Intimidate, but with how much my attack is boosted and Torrent being activated, an Aqua Jet can OHKO the Crocodile, the Scrafty, the Absol, and the Bisharp. 1 out of 4. I go for Shontol next. She leads with Cofagrigus. I set up a Sword Stance and she uses Shadow Ball. I go for Aquatail, but miss. She goes for Will-O-Wisp and also misses. So next turn, an Aquatail OHKOs her. Then Drifloon is a one-shot with Aquatail, Chandelure with Aqua Jet, Golurk with Aqua Jet 2, and finally Banette with Aqua Jet as well. 2 out of 4. Afterwards is the Psychic type trainer Caitlyn. She sends Musharna and I use Edge Scissor trying to get an OHKO, but she lives on the red and puts me to sleep. While I am asleep, she heals with a full restore and does half my health in damage with Dream Eater. When I wake up, I set up a Sword Stand. and Edge Scissor is then enough to defeat her. Cossidel then gets one-shotted by Edge Scissor, Reuniclus gets one-shotted by Edge Scissor, Metagross gets one-shotted by Aqua Tail, and finally Sealeaf gets one-shotted by Aqua Tail. 3 out of 4. Final member of the Elite Four is Marshall. He sends Throw and I use Sword Stance to raise my attack while he uses Bulldoze to do some damage and lower my speed. I use Sword Stance again and he also uses Bulldoze again. I then use Aqua Jet, but it leaves him with like 1 HP. He just uses Bulldoze again. While he heals, I take the chance and set up a final Sword Stance to get my attack as high as possible. Next turn, I OHKO him with an Aqua Jet. Then, Yanshao is a one-shot with Aqua Jet, Conkeldurr is a one-shot with Aqua Jet, and Lucario is also a one-shot with Aqua Jet. Finally Sock comes out, and thanks to his story, I can't OHKO him, but a Break from him isn't enough to defeat me, so after a couple of turns, I can win the fight. Finally is the champion Iris. She leads with Hydreigon and I send my Oshawott. I set up a Sword Stance and she goes for Dragon Pulse, leaving me close to half HP. I then go for super effective Edge Scissor that OHKOs her. Next is Lapras, but gets OHKO'd by Edge Scissor too. Droligon comes out and gets one-shotted by Edge Scissor, and for Aggron, an Aqua Tail is enough to OHKO her. The Exhaxorus comes out. I use an Edge Scissor that crits and luckily activates her Focus Sash, while she sets up a Dragon Dance to raise her attack and speed. She heals and another Edge Scissor can OHKO her. Last is her Archeops and a single Aqua Jet gets me the win. So, to recapitulate, I had to grind a lot for the Bug Gym because of a dumb decision and for the Gold Race fight. But for the Elite Four and Champion, I could easily one-shot most of their Pokemon. Another funny thing is that all of the Elite Four members were defeated on the first try and Iris on the third, so that just shows how over-leveled I was. I also just noticed that I never needed to use an Ice-type move. I'm thankful for not having to use the Battle Subway, since even though I allow it, it still feels kind of like cheating. But anyways, the good news is that I defeated the champion and didn't even have to reach level 100, which is always great to see. For next time, since I finished the Unova starters, I'm going to do one of my choice, and I'm going to try one of the most useless first form Pokemon, Weedle. I know I won't be able to beat the game with him, but I'm still curious as to how far I'll be able to get with this little bug. Maybe I'll be able to beat the dribble battle against Charms, or maybe I'll reach Colress. Who knows? If you want to see more of my content, you can check the Shiny Professor Oak Challenge playlist that's on screen. Or, if you want to see something more like what you just watched, you can check the Solo Runs playlist that's also on screen. Anyways, that's all I have for now. See ya!